To say that much has happened since our last video premiere 60 plus days ago would be a severe understatement. Since then, virtually all of crypto is down, minimum 20%. Many have lost over half of their net worth. Some have lost everything that they had. Hopefully, you're not one of them. If you are, you have my condolences. Now it's time to learn from your mistakes so that you never find yourself in this position ever again. This is Crypto Kernels. I am your host, Asa Kane. In this episode, we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the epic collapse of crypto exchange FTX and also look at some of the aftermath. Now, before we do so, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button, which is our thumbs up icon that you see me scrolling over directly underneath your video playing. What it does helps to share it with others like yourself who want to get a hold on exactly what is going on and why so many people are losing so much money. Also, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, which is our icon in the lower right-hand corner that you see there. What it does, it helps to ensure that you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes of Crypto Kernels. FTX. Like I just said a minute ago, I'm going to share with you a timeline as to the specific events that have happened. Now, this article that we're getting ready to look at right here, this is from abc.com, and its author is Max Zahn, and this was written a week ago today. Weeks ago, FTX was a $32 billion cryptocurrency darling. Now it's in bankruptcy. Sam Bankman-Fried, former CEO of FTX, was a 30-year-old crypto wonderkin who for years garnered goodwill as a philanthropist and leading proponent of industry regulation. Now he's been arrested after federal prosecutors in New York filed criminal charges. Larry David, Tom Brady, and Stephen Curry are among the celebrities who endorsed the cryptocurrency exchange. Now they all face a lawsuit over their involvement. Concerns of FTX of instability were triggered by a wave of customer withdrawals totaling billions of dollars, but FTX lacked the sufficient funds to pay sellers, instead imposing a halt on withdrawals altogether. Some crypto traders who deposited their savings with the platform may never get their money back. Again, ever. The fall of FTX is one of the largest and most sudden in recent corporate history. Below is a timeline. Now here, November the 2nd. The collapse of FTX centers in part on the cryptocurrency exchange's close relationship with Alameda Research, a crypto hedge fund also founded by Bankman-Fried. Major concerns about FTX started when news outlet CoinDesk published an article that found significant portions of Alameda Research's assets consisted of FTT, a token created by FTX. Because FTT cannot be easily exchanged for cash, the report stoked fears about the capital reserves at Alameda Research. November 6, 4 days later, in response to the article, Changpeng Zhao, the CEO of rival exchange Binance, often referred to as CZ, said he would sell all of the company's holdings in FTT, which amounts to $580 million. The major exit from a crypto heavyweight triggered a wider sell-off akin to a bank run, placing pressure on FTX to meet the sudden demand for withdrawals. Due to a lack of funds, they halted customer withdrawals altogether. Now, 2 days later, November the 8th, FTX reached a deal to sell itself to Binance, the crypto exchange whose executive helped trigger the sell-off. This is user-centric development that benefits the entire industry, Bankman-Fried said. CZ has done and will continue to do an incredible job of building out the global crypto ecosystem and creating a freer economic world. The important thing is that customers are protected, he added. The very next day, November the 9th. You can't make this up. Binance withdrew from the deal to acquire FTX. as a result of corporate due diligence, as well as the latest news reports regarding mishandled customer funds and alleged U.S. agency investigations, we have decided that we will not pursue the potential acquisition of FTX.com, Binance said. The very next day, their due diligence, it was not done in 24 hours. It just, no. Okay, now this is CZ's comment on Twitter. Sad day, tried, but crying emojis. Okay. Meanwhile, the Security and Exchange Commission and Justice Department had begun investigating the FTX collapse. Sequoia Capital, a top venture firm, wrote down its roughly $200 million stake in FTX to zero. We are in the business of taking risks, Sequoia Capital said in a public letter. Some investments will surprise to the upside, some to the downside, meaning you win some, you lose some. The very next day, November the 10th, a Bahamian financial regulator froze the assets of FTX. The Securities Commission of the Bahamas said it was aware of public statements suggesting that funds were mishandled. The 11th, FTX filed for a Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection as it assesses the value of its remaining assets, a company announcement said. Bankman-Fried resigned as CEO and was replaced with John J. Ray III, who steered disgraced energy company Enron through bankruptcy proceedings in the 2000s. I was alive and a very young man at that time, and I remember all of this. The immediate relief of Chapter 11 is appropriate to provide the FTX group the opportunity to assess the situation and develop a process to maximize recoveries for stakeholders, Ray said. November the 12th, the next day, the Wall Street Journal reported that FTX linked customers' deposits to Alameda Research to help it meet its liabilities, and top executives there were aware of it, raising further scrutiny about the relationship between Alameda Research and FTX. Saying everyone is in on it. 2 days later, the collapse of cryptocurrency exchange FTX became the subject of an investigation by federal prosecutors in New York, sources familiar with the matter told ABC News. At issue, the source said, is whether FTX violated securities laws when it reportedly gave customer funds to Alameda Research. 2 days later, on the 16th, House lawmakers called on Bankman-Fried as well as executives at Alameda and Binance to testify in a hearing on Capitol Hill in December this month. The fall of FTX has posed tremendous harm to over 1 million users, many of whom were everyday people who invested their hard-earned savings into the FTX cryptocurrency exchange, only to watch it all disappear within a matter of seconds, Representative Maxine Waters, Democrat, California, said in a statement. Unfortunately, this event is just one of many examples of cryptocurrency platforms that have collapsed this past year. Meanwhile, celebrity boosters of FTX, including Naomi Osaka, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kevin O'Leary, were sued in federal court in a class action lawsuit alleging that false representation of a deceptive product were used to dupe vulnerable investors. I had no knowledge, nor did any of the other celebrities, of what occurred here, O'Leary said. Told ABC's Nightline. Later in the day, the Vox published an interview in which Bankman-Fried disparages regulators using an expletive, confesses that his previous calls for tighter crypto regulation had been driven by public relations concerns, and he regrets the company declaring bankruptcy. A prolific philanthropist in an interview described his public commitment to ethics as a dumb game we woke Westerners play. Okay. His words, not mine. November the 17th, John Ray, the incoming CEO who was installed to guide the company through bankruptcy proceedings, said in a court filing that he has never seen such a complete failure of corporate controls in his career, including the Enron scandal. He's saying this is worse than that. From compromised systems integrity and faulty regulatory oversight abroad to the concentration of control in the hands of a very small group of inexperienced, unsophisticated, and potentially compromised individuals, Ray said. This is the new CEO. This situation is unprecedented, he added. December 13th, Bankman-Fried was arrested in the Bahamas last week after federal prosecutors in New York filed criminal charges. A source familiar with the charges told ABC News that Bankman-Fried is facing a multi-count fraud indictment 1 month after FTX filed a $32 billion bankruptcy. The arrest followed receipt of formal notification from the United States that it has filed criminal charges against SBF and is likely to request his extradition, the Bahamas Attorney General office said. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission charged Bankman-Fried with defrauding investors. Now, FTX's collapse highlights is the very real risk that unregistered crypto assets trading platforms can pose for investors and customers alike. I always tell you guys, we never just talk here. This right here is by CNBC. And this was published yesterday, the 19th. FTX founder Bankman-Fried sent back to Bahamas jail in day of courtroom chaos. All right. He is heading back to a Bahamas jail. He has been expected to waive his right to an extradition hearing. And we can see here, I'm going to show you, these are just the key points right here. He was visibly shaken. And his defense attorney told the court that he was shocked that Bankman-Fried was in court. I mean, you can't make this up. Now let's go down here. That's a picture of him. He's the one in the front right there. You see me scrolling over him? That's him. Everyone else, police and security. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried was sent back to a Bahamas jail Monday in a chaotic courtroom scene after a reported plan for him to waive his extradition to the U.S. stalled. However, multiple media reports later in the day said that he had told his Bahamian lawyers to proceed with extradition hearings, and he's now expected back in court later this week. Reports over the weekend indicated that Bankman-Fried would consent to extradition, but the former crypto billionaire told a different story Monday, demanding to see a copy of his federal indictment before agreeing to return to the U.S. He will return to Fox Hill jail rather than surrendering himself to U.S. custody. Bankman-Fried's legal team signaled that they would fight extradition last week. CNBC and other outlets reported that Bankman-Fried had changed his mind and would instead submit himself for extradition on Monday. Now, this is him right here again. He's been in there, a week? He hasn't shaved. He hasn't probably showered. Maybe he has. He hasn't shaved. In open court chaos reigned. Bankman-Fried, 30, dressed in a blue suit and white button-down shirt, was visibly shaking. His defense attorney, Jerome Roberts, told the court that he was shocked that he was in court. "I did not request him to be here this morning," the attorney said. Franklin Williams, KC, the Bahamian prosecutor, said that he understood he intended to waive extradition, according to the news, NBC News. The FTX founder arrived in court in a convoy of police vehicles heavily guarded just after 10 a.m. Eastern Time. After the hearing closed, the New York Times and Washington Post both reported that Bankman-Fried agreed to extradition, citing Roberts. "We as counsel will prepare the necessary documents to trigger the court," Mr. Roberts told the Times. CNBC has not yet been able to confirm these reports independently. The move comes just days after he was remanded to the medical unit of Bahamas' notorious Fox Hill prison. The State Department in a 2020 report called the conditions at Fox Hill prison harsh, citing overcrowding, poor nutrition, inadequate sanitation, poor ventilation, and inadequate medical care. This is him again, going back to jail from court. Medical care, in particular, spotty at the prison, the report said. The former billionaire was transferred from one of his 7 multi-million-dollar homes to the prison last week. Though Bankman-Fried was entitled to his own room in the medical wing, Bloomberg reported. He faces life in prison without the possibility of parole if convicted on just one of 8 counts that prosecutors have charged him with. His sentence could be reduced by mitigating factors, trial lawyers and former prosecutors say. In practice, many white collar defendants are given lesser sentences than what the guidelines dictate. So even in large fraud cases, you can see life sentences drastically reduced. Now let's see here. There's one other thing that I want to share with you. I wanted to share this timeline to fill in the blanks for those of you who are unaware of all the events that have happened after this. And this is an overview of all that. Now, this here I want to share with you. This article from Yale Insight states the crypto caused the FTX collapse. FTX's new CEO, a bankruptcy lawyer, is sorting through the wreckage of the crypto exchange while members of Congress are planning investigations. Yale Psalms Rick Antle, an accounting scholar who worked on the Bernie Madoff restitution, says the FTX was a toxic situation combination. Now, look here. This was written 2 weeks ago. Did something specific about the world of crypto cause FTX's collapse? Or was it just a garden variety scam? Now, to be sure, the nature of the assets in the crypto world played a big role in this fiasco. Crypto assets are pure information assets. They have no tangible existence and can therefore be easily moved, stored, sold, etc., at least from a physical point of view. Crypto assets signify rights that exist only to the extent that people believe they do. For example, Bitcoin is valuable because it gives you the ability to acquire goods and services in exchange for Bitcoin. The ability to do this is dependent on whether people choose to accept Bitcoin as payment. This is basic, but it's important to go over. An NFT is valuable because it represents an ownership right that you can transfer to someone else or simply get direct satisfaction from the knowledge that you own a piece of digital property. Okay, this is why I'm highlighting this paragraph. This is all very abstract. That makes it difficult to sort different types of crypto assets into clear categories. A first step in regulating them in efficient and effective ways, for example, is Bitcoin a currency like the US dollar or the euro, or a security like a share of Goldman Sachs? The answer guides the assessment of the appropriate type of regulation. It is not surprising then that regulators have been a bit behind the curve in the crypto world. Are they ever ahead? Can you imagine? Can you regulate something before there is some experience with it? No. The intangible nature of crypto assets also means that volume can be cranked up very, very quickly. There are no beer barrels to store, no cars to manufacture and ship. You just move around some symbols. This is where the garden variety scam comes in. Business history is full of examples of companies that grew too fast with little attention to controls and accounting, which tend to slow things down. As attorney John Ray, now FTX's CEO, wrote in a bankruptcy filing, having control rests in the hands of a very small group of inexperienced, unsophisticated, and potentially compromised individuals who in turn are enabled by compromised systems, integrity, and faulty regulatory oversight is a tried and true recipe for disaster. Even so, this seems quite extreme. This is their CEO saying this again. Are accounting tools able to keep up with everything that's happening in the world of crypto? The essence of accounting is to organize the keeping of financial records by using the fundamental accounting identity: assets minus liabilities equals equities or net assets. This leads to double entry bookkeeping, which turns out to be a big help for administering account systems. There are 3 steps in the accounting process: recognition, classification, and valuation. Recognition is the decision of whether to include a piece of information in the identity. Classification is the decision of what categories are affected, and book valuation is the assignment of the numbers to use. There is nothing special about the crypto world that would affect There's the desirability of using the standard approach, or that would raise particularly difficult problems in applying it. The problem with FTX is that this approach was not applied at all, at least on a system-wide basis. Paragraph 58 of the Raid Declaration. The debtors are locating and securing all available financial records, but expect it to be some time before reliable historical financial statements can be prepared for the FTX group, with which I am comfortable as CEO. The debtors do not have an accounting department and outsource this information. Again, a 32 billion a company. They don't even have they had no accounting department. You can't make this up. The FTX's group's approach to human resources combine employees of various entities and outsourced contractors with unclear records and lines of responsibility. At this time, the debtors have been unable to prepare a complete list of who worked for the FTX group as of the petition date or the terms of their employment. Repeated attempts to locate certain presumed employees to confirm their status have been unsuccessful to date. Emphasis added. There is more in the Raid Declaration. Yeah, the point has been made. How did this bankruptcy compare with the failures of other financial firms in terms of impact on investors and the broader financial system? Professors Gary Gordon and Andrew Medic are more appropriate to comment on this, but I will say that I don't see the FTX bankruptcy as a big systematic risk. In the 2009 financial crisis, the big concern was contagion, i.e. that one or few failures will spread and undermine the entire system. Of course, there will be big effects on individuals who will lose assets at the FTX failure. At this point, it is difficult to estimate how deep the losses will run or how many people will lose because FTX was a trading platform and held customer assets. They believe that it contains a balance sheet for the parts of FTX labeled the WRS silo that contains the following qualifications. Balances of customer crypto assets deposited were not recorded as assets on the balance sheet and are not presented. Emphasis in original. The qualification for balance sheet for the .com silo is balances of customer crypto assets deposited are not presented. Emphasis again. So if customer assets were lost or stolen, we really have no idea how much might ultimately be lost. The market capitalization of the 50 biggest cryptocurrencies as of November was slightly more than 800 billion. So we would estimate that the total amount lost will be considerably less than that. But they may never know. No, we won't ever know. Woo! Wow, your thoughts, share them, comments. If you receive value from this video, you can contribute either Cash App or any ERC20 token. It goes straight back into our channel. This is one last thing I want to share with you. If you don't have a crypto wallet yet, you need to get one for Christmas for yourself. Ledger's one of the leading worldwide manufacturers of crypto cold storage wallets. If these people that had their crypto on FTX had put it on one of these wallets instead, they would still have everything that they own. By leaving their money on FTX, they didn't control it, and now it's gone forever. I feel bad for them, but since day one, we've been preaching this to you. And if you don't have one and you have crypto, in my opinion, you get what you deserve. So get yourself a wallet and learn. We've got more coming up soon. In the meantime, get in there and make it happen.